This is the Your BIPoC Writing Coach podcast, and I'm your BIPoC writing coach, Lori L. Tharps. I'm a journalist and a former tenured college professor who moved to the south of Spain so I could live a global literary life. I'm also an award-winning author of both fiction and nonfiction who believes in the transformative power of a story well told. I created this podcast because I want to help as many BIPoC writers as possible get their stories out of their heads and into the world. Are you ready? Let's go. This is the final episode of Season 6 of the podcast, also known as the How to Be a Famous Author Era season. For the last 3 months, we have talked about how to promote your work, how to build an author platform, and find the fans who will buy, read, and support your work over time. And now it's time for me to wrap up and for you to make a plan to truly lean into your famous author era. So let's talk about it. Hello, wordsmiths, storytellers, and scribes. If you're new here, you are definitely in the right spot if you are ready to take your writing life seriously. But I would say if this is literally your first episode of the podcast, that you might want to pause here and go back and listen to all of the episodes in this season, Season 6, before listening to this last episode. I promise it will make way more sense. But if you're driving or washing dishes and switching episodes is a problem, no worries. You can stick around and soak in the wisdom I'm about to share and then go back and listen to the other episodes later. For all of my regulars, hey y'all, good to have you back. And I hope you are as pumped up and as excited as I am after this incredible season of knowledge sharing about all things book publicity and promotion. I really hope you learn some things and feel inspired to put them into action. I want you guys to know that I literally created and curated this season for you, my loyal listeners, the BIPoC writers I want to see succeed in the world of publishing. Now, what I want more than anything is that you take this information and don't just sit on it, but that you really do put it into practice. But the thing that is the most important thing that you put into practice is a change of mindset or a shift in mindset. I really need people to rethink their idea of success as an author and what it really means to be a quote unquote famous author. So recently I listened to an episode of Trevor Noah's podcast, What Now, where he was interviewing comedian Josh Johnson. You're welcome, because I did listen to the entire 2-hour episode just to pull out the most clutch, most important message ever, so you don't have to. I mean, actually, it's a great episode, but there's this point in the interview where Josh Johnson is talking about fame. And this is really the essence of what all of you guys need to think about as you contemplate what does it mean to be a famous author. So here's what Josh Johnson said. And I'm quoting him, but I'm paraphrasing a little bit. Let's just put it that way. So here's what he said. Quote, "What makes writers or comedians different from professional athletes is that for comedians, there really is no number one. And because there is no single number one, everyone can technically be number one to the people who resonate with their brand of comedy," unquote. So then he goes on to talk about people like Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle, Trevor Noah himself. All of these comedians are considered the GOATs, the greatest of all times of comedy, to their specific audiences. And mind you, there are obviously thousands of successful comedians who all have very unique audiences and could all be considered the GOAT to the people who love them. The same is true for authors. Stephen King is the GOAT for people who love horror. Terry McMillan is the GOAT for the people who love 90s Black female friendship stories. And as much as it pains me to say it, Colleen Hoover is the GOAT for messy white ladies. And there's an indie author who I just heard on a podcast who apparently is the GOAT for older white women who love stories that take place in the south of France where the protagonist is over age 65. Yep, highly specific, but to those women, to that audience, this woman is the GOAT. So the potential to be a famous author is contingent on one thing and one thing only: finding the readers who love your work. So part 2 of what Josh Johnson said is some advice to go along with this wisdom. And he said, as long as you don't convince yourself that there is actually a clock or a finish line or some actual way to codify that you are the number one writer in the world, you can just carry on doing your thing for your audience. He said, quote, I want to be the best comedic writer ever. I know that empirically that's never going to happen, but it will happen in someone's mind that connects with my work. And that's enough, unquote. And that's what pushes Josh to keep going and enjoying the process because he's making comedy for his audience, not Trevor Noah's, not Dave Chappelle's, not that middle-aged white lady who's making jokes about menopause these days. He found his unique audience who appreciates his comedy and he's making comedy for them. He's not frustrated. He's not giving up. He's not reaching for unrealistic goals. He said he is loving his life right now because he knows who his audience is, and he's a famous comedian to those people. So I want you lovely writers listening to just, if you don't take away any other tips or strategies, please just change your ideas about success. Throw away metrics like the New York Times bestseller list and the National Book Awards and start thinking about what success would look like if you really found your audience who loved your books and loved you. Get clear on that definition and that vision, and then let's get busy with your plan to be the greatest author of all time. So now let's talk about what the biggest takeaways were from this season that you can use to plan and plot your own book marketing plans. All right? Okay, so number 1, it's never too early or too late to think about marketing your books. Almost every guest this season put an exclamation point on this point. If you are still writing your first book, it's not too early to start finding the virtual and in real life places where your ideal reader hangs out. It's not even too early to start a mailing list or a Substack to bring people into your book writing journey. And it's definitely not too early to start making yourself a known entity in the bookstores, libraries, and literary conferences that might one day showcase your work. And on the flip side, if your book is 6 months old or 6 years old, it's still new to someone, and you can and should still be promoting it. Remember, Tamala Gordon said, if she goes to your IG page and doesn't see your book cover somewhere in the grid, you're doing something wrong. True confession, as soon as she said that, I ran right over to my Instagram page and pinned a reel with all 4 of my books on the top of my Instagram page. So again, take this information and take action. All right, takeaway number 2. You want reader fans, not basic followers. Jesus be a hashtag, because if you take nothing else from the 15 hours of content that I created for this season, it is this: followers do not equal readers or buyers of your books. If you have limited time and or desire to spend time on social media, remember, use social media to spread awareness about your book, as Jen DePaula said, but your community building happens on your own real estate. Building a community of loyal readers and fans of your work isn't done on Instagram. It should be done on a website, a Substack, a newsletter, maybe even a virtual community platform or a YouTube community. Heck, start your own book club, but do not prostitute yourself on social media thinking 10,000 followers is going to translate to 10,000 book sales. It's not. Number 3, use conscious marketing. Be strategic and not stressed. All right, so if you haven't figured it out after this long season, book marketing is a long game. As I mentioned, you should definitely get to work before your first book is even finished, and you should keep marketing long after the first year your book comes out. But if the very idea of being in sales mode 24/7 makes you itchy and uncomfortable, go back and listen to my interview with Tamala Gordon, who outlines what she means by conscious marketing. In a nutshell, Tamala spends 80% of her time being a good literary citizen and 20% of her time actively promoting her book. And she has seen excellent returns on her investments of time in support of other authors. For Tamala, what that 80% looks like is promoting other books on her platforms, going to author events and showing up for new writers, participating while she's at these different author events, actually reading other people's books and talking about them, and leading workshops and literacy events. If her book comes up in conversation, which it inevitably will, she will use that opportunity to quote unquote market. That way, Tamala can sleep at night because she doesn't feel like a door-to-door salesman begging people to buy her books. And the best part is, her book, Hood Wellness, is still selling. And by becoming a known entity in the BIPoC writing world, she's building a community of fans who are going to flock to her new book that's coming out in October 2026, and it's all about BIPoC writers. One last pro tip on the marketing front. When you are talking about your book, remember two key things from Jen DePaula. You want to hook potential readers in with an emotional trigger about what they will get from reading or what problem the book will solve for them. And remember that there are different types of buyers, from impulse buyers to those who want to feel a spiritual or emotional connection with you, the author. So make sure you are marketing to all different types of buyers. And number 4, this is last but not least, don't be an influencer, support the influencer. Many authors I know have no interest in being a social media superstar. And dare I say, I bet there's very few authors who really just want to stand in front of a camera begging people to buy their book. It's demeaning. It's a time suck because really and truly, the algorithms don't care about you or your little book, and they're not going to help you out. Now, after my interview with Janani Velu from This Story Ain't Over, she's a book influencer, I realized that book influencers could be and should be an author's best friend. They are so much more approachable than traditional media. In other words, you don't need a publicist to approach an influencer. And unlike traditional media, there are so many influencers out there with very niche interests. So if you can find the influencer whose tastes mirror the types of book you write, then that could be a match made in heaven. Your job is not to simply put the influencer on a list and send them a copy of your book. It's to become a follower, a supporter, and a member of their community. It's going back to Tamala Gordon's conscious marketing approach, but within the influencer community. Study the influencers and don't be swayed by big numbers. Like, don't go looking for the influencer who has 80 bazillion followers on Instagram. I mean, maybe they do, maybe they don't. But just because they have a lot of followers doesn't mean they're the followers who want to read your book. So that could just be wasted time. You need to find the influencers that match your writing style and then figure out how to be useful in the community. Don't overdo it. Just be a good literary citizen. But you can also, while you're there in that community, study that audience of readers. See what they seem to be into and save that up for later. To put a period on this point, remember, readers are not looking at authors to find their next book pick. They're looking at book influencers, traditional media, book clubs, and their best friend and maybe their mama, not you. So trying to become the person, the influencer yourself, waste of time. Support the influencers who are already there, be involved in their reader communities, and see if you can't find the readers that you want, as well as getting that influencer to champion your book. So those are my big takeaways. I encourage you to listen to as many of these episodes as necessary to refresh your memory about these ideas. We shared a lot of goodies this season, all of which could provide a serious blueprint for a successful book marketing campaign for your next book, or your first book, or all of your past books that have been gathering dust on your publisher's backlist. Me personally, I may be your BIPoC writing coach, but I'm also an author of 4 books. Luckily, my books are still in print, but I've only earned out the advance on one of them. So I'm going to use all of these tips and strategies myself to start marketing my books again. Because after all, they're still new to somebody. I'm going to use Jen DePaula's advice to create a year-long content calendar to schedule when and how I will promote each book over the course of 1 year. Also, because I've been very busy working on a new novel for the last 2 years, hopefully I will have a new book to start promoting soon as well. And I will incorporate that book into my marketing calendar because it's never too late to start marketing and it's never too early. And I have figured out that thematically, my new novel covers some of the same things as my other books: Black women, Spain, writing, love triangles, and family. So I'm actually looking forward to the end of the year, sitting down and really plotting out how I am going to remarket my books. Hopefully, if the literary ancestors have heard my prayers, the next time you hear from me, I'll have a book announcement to make about that new novel. So fingers crossed. My fingers are crossed. Girl, my fingers, my toes, everything, my eyeballs are crossed for that to happen. But until then, you guys are going to have to write on without me because it's time for my winter break. Yes, this is the end of season 6. It's the end of 2025, and it's the end of the energy I have left to give. I want to thank you guys for rocking with me all year round. Thank you for your kind messages, your coffee donations, and just for showing up and listening. Now, what will make me really happy while I'm on hiatus is if you keep writing. Keep putting your stories out into the world because we need your stories now more than ever. We need your voices. We need fantasies and romance stories to escape the madness. We need historical books to make sure people know the truth. We need environmental manifestos to plot the way forward. We need picture books for our babies, and we need memoirs to heal and to inspire. Honey, we need all the stories from all the BIPoC storytellers just like you. Remember, if you're looking for more creative writing inspiration and useful resources for your literary life, then be sure to check out the Read, Write, and Create website at readwriteandcreate.com. That's REED, writeandcreate.com. It's your one-stop shop for inspiration and information to optimize your literary life. Now, if you want to help me optimize this podcast, remember there are 2 easy ways you can do that. You can drop a small monetary donation via the Buy Me a Coffee app linked in the show notes. We call it donation, but since it's the end of the year, you can call it my holiday gift. Either way, it will help me defray the cost of producing this independent, advertisement-free podcast. You can also just help me spread the word about the podcast. You probably know a BIPoC writer who needs a pep talk or information and inspiration so they keep going, so they don't give up on their writing. Please share this show with them. Put it on your social media, add a link to your newsletter or to your Substack. The more we grow, the longer I can keep making the show. Thank you so much for listening, scribes. I appreciate you all. I love you all, and I wish you the best of luck through the end of the year. The Your BIPoC Writing Coach podcast is written and produced by me, Lori L. Tharps. Our editor is Brad Linder, and our theme music is by Wataboy. I'll be back on the mic in February 2026. Until then, keep writing.